Kevin Durant told the media yesterday that he still envisions Kyrie Irving being a part of the Nets despite his uncertain status. Durant also acknowledges that it will be, quote, hard to duplicate what he brings if he can't play home games in Brooklyn. Jay, what do you make of that?
Well, the full context, he also said, call me naive, but I believe that, eventually Kyrie will be a part of this team. Before, these two are so close. Every time I've heard KD talk about Kyrie, it's been more of he backs him to the nth degree. I'm not saying that he's not backing him right now. But the part of the context of that one quote saying, call me naive, makes me think a little bit all right, there's a part of Kevin Durant that's starting to think how does this actually work? Let's be realistic about this, okay? So if Kyrie does decide not to get the vaccine, then he can only play in away games, right? Still not games in Toronto or in LA. But then how does that work practice-wise? What is Kyrie doing right now to stay in shape practice-wise? How do we get continuity with our team? You're not allowed to practice in New York. You're not allowed to play games in New York. You can't really find that. And it makes you start to push to limit that. Okay, if we get to this point, we have to maybe start looking at other options. I'm not saying we go through the other options, but we have to start realistically looking at what trade value is there and how do we figure that out? It seems like Kevin Durant's starting to realize they're getting to that juncture with the season starting October 19th.
This situation, by the way, is I understand if someone is a part of a religious group, let's say, that doesn't believe in modern medicine, and that's a deeply held religious value of theirs. Okay, then we can have a separate conversation. But if this is simply people playing internet detective and thinking, you know what, I know what the world scientific community said, but I was online for 5 minutes and I figured this whole thing out. Then come on. That's not really about beliefs. That's only a belief in the sense that you believe something that's scientifically incorrect, that it's not safe or that there's some financial motive behind it and therefore you don't trust it. You just have an inability to process the good information or distinguish the good stuff from the bad stuff.
See, I don't know where Kyrie's getting the information. I don't know why he came to the decisions that he's come to. I have no idea at all. But he believes in whatever he believes in. And if he believes in what he believes in, whether it's internet detective or whatever you want to call it, I mean, he just has to understand that the position that he takes, is taking right now, has consequences.
100%.
That's all. He just
100%. This is America.
Simple.
This is America. You do whatever you want, but there are consequences.
Simple, Max and Jay.
Well,
there's consequences that come with the decision to be unvaccinated and try and play in the NBA.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Brian Windhorst is covering the Nets training camp in Brooklyn. Here's what he told me yesterday on a fantastic new TV show called This Just In, ESPN, 2 p.m. Here's Wendy.
They're only going to see Kyrie Irving's face one day between now and the start of the regular season on the 19th of October. It is very hard to prepare for a season when your starting point guard you can't see for potentially weeks on end. And the reality is, at the start of the season, they have a 6-game homestand starting the second week. That means they're going to go 11 days without seeing the starting point guard because he can't practice or play with you. And so when they're looking at that, they're like, how can we go forward with this plan? How can we go forward with not being able to practice with our guy and then throwing him out there for games? And the answer is, I'm not sure they can. And so this is what they're now having to consider. Can you have a part-time player, not just in games, but not even see him at home in practice? And that is something that they were hoping they wouldn't have to confront this fast in the season.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. I mean, you're trying to win a championship. As much as you love Kyrie, I love Kyrie Irving as a player, you can't jeopardize your team by not building continuity and building a rhythm going into the season. You can't do it. You can't do it.
There on a Monday, not there on a Friday.
Yeah.
There on a Wednesday, not there for 2 weeks.
And then his talent is so off the charts. How do you not insert him? But you really can't, because how do you fit him into the schemes? How do you fit him into the rhythm of the game with the players? There's a feel in that. So you start looking at trade value, and everybody's like, go for Ben Simmons. I'm like, if I'm Brooklyn, I'm not sending him to a contender. I'm not sending him somebody in the East. I'm looking at West. I'm looking at a situation like Dallas. I'm looking at a guy like maybe Kristaps Porzingis. Maybe there's trade value there. Maybe Luka and Kyrie in the backcourt is something that they're really into. Kristaps, I'm not sure how Luka feels about Kristaps Porzingis. There have been some issues there with him and head coaches, supposedly. New head coach there in Jason Kidd. But if Kristaps Porzingis can play along with a guy like Kevin Durant and James Harden with the ability to space the floor, that's interesting trade right there.
It is.
Let me ask you this, though, Jay, because I really don't know, but I know you know. But if Kyrie influenced Kevin Durant's decision to sign with the Nets based on their relationship, and then this is happening, and he's moved on, he has to now move on to another team, how does that ultimately affect Kevin Durant in the end?
Well, I think it hurts Kevin Durant because KD definitely has a lot of love for Kyrie. But at the end of the day, KD wants to win chips. He wants to win. Like, he is a savage on the court. And I don't know what else you can do if you're Kevin. What else can you do? Are you going to say, I'm not going to play because Kyrie can't play? I mean, KD loves the game more than anything else. So I don't see him doing that. There's really nothing else you can do.
You're going to martyr yourself. Be on the right side of history. Like, that's, you want to make sure you're making the right choice.